in the vast expanse of the universe. Yes, our Earth, the only place we all have in common, a planet we call home. A very good morning to our honored chief guest, Mr. Vishwanath Srikanthaiah, our principal, Reverend Father Sunil Fernandez, our primary school administrator, Reverend Father Vishal D'Souza, our vice principal, Mr. Brian McCurtish, respected teachers, and my fellow Josephites. How beautiful the world is. The fresh air from the numerous trees is filling our lungs unceasingly, refreshing and rejuvenating us. World Environment Day is not just a celebration, but also a reminder for us to take the best care of our Earth. Earth has always been a generous mother to us. She provides us with food, shelter, and happiness. Let us return this favor to her by preserving and protecting her. The expression of gratitude is fundamental in Josephite culture. Today, let us express our gratefulness to Mother Nature for her benevolence to us.
Let's nurture nature so that we can have a better future. Nature is the best teacher. She unfolds her treasures to our search, illuminates our mind, purifies our eyes. It is man's greed, not need, that depletes nature and brings calamities to the created order. So let us cooperate and collaborate to curb all harm being done to nature and work together to keep our earth green.
To strengthen our resolve to save the environment, let us begin with a prayer to the Almighty. As prayer unites the heart, soul, and mind, as well as connects us to God, let us place ourselves in a prayerful posture and kindly rise to recite the universal prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen.
Our existence in all forms is fundamentally composed of 5 elements, or the Pancha Mahabhutas, respectively fire, space, air, water, and earth. We experience the benefits of these elements in our daily lives, but often forget to appreciate their presence.
Fire is one of the 5 fundamental elements of nature. It provides heat, warmth, and is life-giving. The lighting of the lamp signifies the spreading of light and warmth to all around. It kindles hope in the midst of darkness. Let's begin our appreciation with the lighting of the lamp.
We now request our principal, Father Sunil Fernandez, to lead our guest, Mr. Vishwanath Srikanthaiah, to light the lamp, accompanied by our primary school administrator, Father Vishal, Vice Principal, Mr. Brian McCurtish, Mr. Stephen, Mr. Yesu, Miss Lisamma, and Pranati. With this ignition of our feelings of love and respect towards our environment, now venerate space as the entire cosmos. The sky continuously protects us from the harmful UV rays and saves us from solar flares. Only through the phenomenon occurring in space is the Earth able to receive light, heat, and its beauty. Let us now show our gratitude to space through a small prayer.
ओंकारं बिंदु संयुक्तं नित्याध्यान्ति योगिनः कमादं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकार्य नमो नमः. Space absorbs thoughts and sounds. Think positive, listen to, and speak what is good. Keep the space pure, source of all light. It is a divine gift. Keep it pure.
Another element of nature in dire need of purity is the air around us. It supports life with every breath we take in. Let us express our indebtedness through a prayer.
Namaste Vayu, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishami, Rutam Vadishami, Satyam Vadishami, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. O Lord of the air, Truth Supreme, we bow to your Lord Divine. Bless us with great strength, intellect, and balanced breath.
Like the balanced breath, water is also an element that is a pivotal part of all life. We now recognize its significance and offer a small prayer.
Ksham nom devrabhishtaya apo bhavantu pitayam ksham yorabhi skavantu na. May the divine water be auspicious and pleasant for us to drink. May it give prosperity and courage by flowing near us.
Bearing the rigorous flow of life, the element earth is the place of our birth and our only home, a thin crust that is the source of the growth of the entire biosphere. As soil engenders all creatures, we now offer our gratefulness to the mighty Mother Earth through a small prayer.
Vimrakvin prithvim avadami, shamam bhumin brahmana, vavrudhanam urjam pushtam bibhartam, annabhagamghritam tvabhi nisidema bhumi. O Mother Earth, thou art the supreme purifier, who flourishes by the power of Brahman the Absolute. I invoke thee, patient one.
With this prosperity, we move on towards the enrichment of the mind through the encouraging words of our dear Principal. I now request Father Principal to take the dais.
Distinguished Chief Guest Mr. Vishwanath, the Vice Principal Mr. Brian McCuttish, the Primary School Administrator for the Vishal D'Souza, dear staff members and my dear students. Today, we celebrate World Environment Day. The Superior General of the Society of Jesus has given us a mandate for 10 years from the year 2019 to 2029. There are 4 Universal Apostolic Preferences, what we call as the UAPs. The first one is showing the way to God. The second one, walking with the excluded, the poor and the needy. The third one, accompanying the youth. And the fourth Universal Apostolic Preference is care for our common home. And today, as we celebrate the World Environment Day, it is not merely having certain Go Green initiatives, but developing an eco-spirituality. In the Indian tradition, we have Aham Brahmasmi, that thou art, like I am Brahman. Therefore, we are invited to look for the divine in everything, in persons, in nature, and in everything. Seeing God in all things and all things in God. And that is the eco-spirituality. When we develop this in our lives, we care for everyone and especially our Mother Earth. Just now, we listened to the Pancha Mahabhutas, 5 gross elements: water, fire, earth, sky or space and air. These 5 elements does not belong to any particular region, religion, but it belongs to the whole of humanity. And therefore, we are invited as the crown of God's creation in today's world to be the stewards of Mother Earth, which invites us to be persons of responsibility and accountability, and we have to create a cleaner, greener and a brighter world, not only for ourselves but to the coming generations. Let us pledge not merely to protect Mother Earth, but to have an eco-spirituality that nourishes or nurtures within us, to have a special care and concern for the Mother Earth. Let us be global citizens. Let us learn to be people of the whole of the cosmos. Let us pledge to take care of our Mother Earth on this World Environment Day. I wish each one of you a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for the illuminating speech. Your words will ever echo in our hearts and always motivate us.
I now call upon Diti Prakash from Class 12B to introduce our esteemed guest.
Today, on this special occasion of World Environment Day, we would like to welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. S. Vishwanath, also known as Zen Rain Man, who is a civil engineer and urban planner based out of Bengaluru. He is an adjunct professor at the Azim Premji University, where he teaches a course based on the theme Water. He is a trustee with the Biome Environmental Trust and also a director at Biome Environmental Solutions, which is an ecological architecture practicing firm. Having been a technical committee member with the Bengaluru Water Supply and Sewerage Board, he is also a part of the Rural Development Engineering Department of the Government of Karnataka for the Jal Jeevan Mission scheme. He wrote a weekly column called Waterwise for 12 years in the newspaper franchise of The Hindu. He has helped formulate the rainwater harvesting policy and law for Bengaluru, the wastewater policy for Karnataka, and the water policy for Karnataka drafted by the Karnataka Knowledge Commission. Mr. Vishwanath was the Secretary General of the International Rainwater Catchment Systems Association for 4 years, while also being the advisor at Arghyam for the India Water Portal for an entire decade. Mr. Vishwanath has received numerous accolades, including the Namma Bengaluru Award in the year 2011, the Bhagirat Prayas Samman in 2018, and was also selected as an Ashoka Fellow. What the Zen Rain Man enjoys most is working with the community on livelihood-based issues with farmers, well diggers, and fishermen. He also enjoys working on restoring water and land spaces. We are indeed privileged to have you with us here today, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Father, for having me here on this particular day, World Environment Day. World Environment Day, this time the theme is on plastic ban. As you know that we use too much plastic and we don't know how to dispose it off safely. But World Environment Day is also about a broader issue, as was pointed out, about eco-spirituality. It's about how we approach Mother Earth, how we approach the crucial challenges of our time. And in my work, which has spanned over 36 years, what I've really figured out is that there are two challenges before us as a society. One is the challenge of poverty. There is inequity, there is a lack of employment, and if there is employment, there is underemployment, and it's also based on gender and class issues also. But poverty is something that we have not been able to get rid of, and it's something that we need to aspire to get rid of, that people should have a job at hand, that people should be able to earn a livelihood, have a decent family life, which would be able to take care of their education of their children and the health of the family as a whole. Poverty is at the heart of the challenge before us, and in that challenge is also the challenge of the environment, the eco-spirituality as we talk about. What we are doing is we are consuming resources of nature way beyond what is sustainable and throwing out a stream of pollutants from that consumption, which again nature is impossible to assimilate, right? So here's two challenges before us: poverty, lack of livelihood opportunities, and the environment as a challenge. And we know that it's the overconsumption of natural resources by a select few which is causing even climate change, for example, where the world's temperature will go up by 1.5 degrees in the coming 4 or 5 years, and broadly it will start to alter the weather patterns of our Earth, which then will have an impact on livelihoods. So what I will do today is to be very brief and share with you two experiences that I've had of working with the community in trying to find crucial solutions to both this issue of poverty and the issue of the environment. So let me just start to share that. I'll show some slides because it makes things visual. We are on June 5th, and hopefully you'll see the screen. The monsoon should have come yesterday. June 4th is what the Indian Meteorological Department suggested, that the monsoon should come, but it's not yet arrived. It should come in a couple of days. But let's see the importance of the monsoon for India, and we've studied it in geography, we know it as students. It's these 4 months of rain, June, July, August, September, which we call the southwest monsoon, which brings almost 80% of the water that India needs. And this 80% of the water has then to be held on for the next 8 months to fulfill our water requirements. And where is the water to be held? The water is to be held in our forests, If we have good old forest cover, the rainfall is held in those forests and slowly released as springs and streams, which then becomes what is called summer flow and comes and joins our rivers. The water has to be held in our soils. The soils which we have over-fertilized, over-pesticized, if you have to use a word, and which no longer has the ability to hold on to water the way it used to in the past. Organic carbon in soil is becoming less and less, and unless we restore the soil health, the waters that fall as rain will not be held for us to grow agricultural crops and productivity. The third place where water is held is in aquifers. Aquifers are sponges below us in the soil, which are holding on to water from the rain, and they then slowly release the water in the form of wells and bore wells that we use for our daily requirements, but also aquifers release water as springs, which then feed our rivers in the summer times. So this great season of the monsoon is the time to seize as an opportunity for us now, the next 4 months, so that we are able to sustain our livelihood and our life itself and our economy itself for the coming year. This is our land, the land of rivers. The 5 elements that were talked about. This is a beautiful photograph. The colors represent the river basins of India. This is pictorially what we assume when we talk about waters, rivers, right? Look at the beautiful veins and arteries that dot our landscape, and all of them is fed by rain, a little bit by snow. And therefore this rain and the forest interface is very crucial for us to keep these rivers flowing at all points of time and to make it flow clean. That's the purity part of the water. But what we do as human beings is consume water. Each one of us as individuals have to have a bath, wash our clothes, use the toilet, use the kitchen sink, and all this then emerges out as wastewater. In a strange fashion, every one of us contributes to pollution of our rivers, lakes, and streams, unless the system is in place to take care of this waste stream, collect it, treat it, and then put it back to nature. And so, till we set up our sewage treatment plants in India, let me introduce you to some friends who are already doing the job of saving the environment. Meet Muniraju. He's a farmer close to Bangalore, close to the international airport at Devanhalli. He's in a town called Vijaypura, which is about 10 kilometers from there. Muniraju is a farmer. His family does farming, as you can see in the background, and he depends on a bore well for the water that is required for the land, right? The bore well has gone to 900 feet deep, and one fine day it goes dry. From that day, Muniraju ceases to be a small middle-income farmer and becomes a laborer in other people's fields because there's no water to cultivate his field. So what does he do? This is his family. They are very hard-working people. They have 6 acres of land and they grow the most wonderful crops. So what Muniraju does now for the last 10 years is he picks up the wastewater from the town of Vijaypura. Vijaypura is a town, has a sewerage network but no sewage treatment plant. And so therefore wastewater flows into the lake from which they drink the water. So they're polluting their own nest in a strange fashion. But what Muniraju did was to intercept this wastewater in the pit that you see there, collect it, allow it to settle, and then he pumps it. He pumps this beautiful wastewater into furrows. Not flood irrigation, furrow irrigation as it is called. As you see, these are furrows where the water flows, and there's a beautiful crop going there. That's the crop that is growing. The crop that is growing is mulberry. And the leaves of the mulberry are then fed to these beautiful silkworms. The silkworms certify the quality of the leaf of the mulberry. The silkworms are very sensitive. They'll die if there's heavy metal or any toxins in the leaf. So they're acting as the pollution control board, but they're also acting to provide livelihoods to people who cultivate mulberry, right? And this mulberry worm, the silkworm, is fed with the mulberry leaves in particular sheds, which again provides livelihoods to certain other people, right? And so then they become cocoons. And this cocoon formation is also another job. So you see that there are a series of jobs around wastewater. The job of farming, which Muniraju does, the job of mulberry cutting and feeding the silkworms, the job of rearing the silkworms, and these are then the cocoons. The cocoons are spun into beautiful yarns, again by people, and they become saris. What Muniraju has done is converted waste to wealth. And that is the lesson that we need to find in our life. I use some very direct words, excuse me for that. But the fact is that there is no such thing in waste if we approach it appropriately. And it's the same with plastic too. as was shown here. When we need trees, we need everything. And the solution to the problem also is coming from livelihoods of farmers and silkworm rearers, right? So if we try in India to sort out our problems of the environment, of pollution, through the use of people, farmers, and people on the ground, then we'll have provided them employment, job security, and we'll have transformed waste to wealth. So I've been glad to have been part of this project with the help of Muniraju. And now the whole town of Vijaypura, all the wastewater is used by silkworm farmers. There's no need of a sewage treatment plant. Their water body is not polluted. They get clean water to drink, and they have a good livelihood. So the other idea that I wanted to discuss with you is you read every day in our newspapers about the polluted Bengaluru Lake, Vartur Lake, and so on and so forth, right? Everybody knows that Bengaluru's lakes are polluted. They're being cleaned up now slowly. I want to give you one example of another lake which has done this job pretty well. This is Jakkur Lake in the north of the city. That's the lake there for you. Jakkur Lake, there's been a design to build something called a constructed wetland. A constructed wetland is a place where you grow plants which are capable of purifying water. And the constructed wetland also becomes a place for bird biodiversity, right? So you have a conventional sewage treatment plant which picks up all the sewage around the lake, treats it. The sewage also generates sludge. This is picked up by farmers. Farmers use it for their areca nut plantations and coconut plantations, convert it to a fertilizer and use it to grow food crops from the sewage treatment plant. The wastewater is treated to a high order, to a high degree, because we have the technology and the science to do the treatment. As you can see on the right, you can actually drink the wastewater. It's of that quality from sewage, right? But it's allowed to go into the constructed wetland through channels. This is how the constructed wetland looks like, full of plants which further purify the water. There's some amount of untreated wastewater coming in. That's also being purified. The weaver's bird's nest is there. Painted storks make their home. It's now become a biodiversity spot. That's how the filter is, nature's filter, the biological filter called the constructed wetland, right? And that's how the clean water then goes into the lake from the constructed wetland. And that's the lake of Jakkur, 50 hectares in water spread, which provides livelihoods to fisher folk. Again, ecology, environment, and livelihoods. How do we tie it together? Proteins for the city through fish and livelihoods for the fishermen's cooperative. That's the fish, 150 rupees a kg, making money for people who are at the marginal sector of society, who earn a livelihood through a cooperative, and make sure that the lake is kept clean, right? The lake is kept clean by the fisher folk. Plus, the wetlands provide grass of many different kinds, which are picked up by those who rear cows, cattle rearers. About 250 cows are fed by the grass which is grown in that constructed wetland. And when they remove the grass, they're actually doing a mass balance of the wetland and making sure that the wetland's function is always increased, right? Then the birds come back, the painted storks, the pelicans. They are no longer migrants. Some of them nest and roost here. So through wastewater, you're able to generate livelihoods, you're able to regenerate biodiversity, right? Like you see there. These folks now have Aadhaar card and PAN card and vote in the elections because they don't want to go away from Jakkur Lake. They're all not migrants no longer, they're all permanent residents of Bangalore, like 16 million others. And the lake then recharges the ground, fills up the groundwater and becomes available in these beautiful open wells constructed by old people called the Manvaddars, who have a skill which dates to 1,200 years. And the Kalluvaddars who line these wells with stones beautifully, and this water now is good for drinking. So again, waste to wealth through a process of livelihoods for fishermen, through a process of regeneration of bird biodiversity, mammalian and reptilian biodiversity, and making it available as drinking water for the city, so that the city does not run out of water. The city does not have to depend only on the Kaveri River, but also can depend on rainwater and groundwater for its needs. These are two experiences, the only two experiences I wanted to share. What I have found in my life and my work of 36 years is that there is great joy when we approach solutions through the intellectual powers that we have been given through the privileged education that we have had. You know, when you're part of this beautiful institution, you've had the privilege of a good education, of good peer groups, good knowledge and learning. And if this knowledge and learning has to be brought to bear on society, please try and make sure that poverty and livelihoods is addressed, that people are given as much employment through the work that you do, and that the environment is restored. If we do that, then the 5 elements of this earth, this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam as we call it, this beautiful one planet where we know, the only planet where life exists, and which is that pale blue dot in the sky, in the famous words of Carl Sagan, the astronomer, is made a better place for us to live in, both societally and environmentally. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for listening in to me.
Thank you, sir, for those enlightening words. Your remarkable experiences and insight that you shared with us will ever echo in our hearts and constantly motivate us to work towards saving our environment. I now request Father Principal, our Vice Principal, and our Primary School Administrator to felicitate our Chief Guest. Thank you, sir. Now, Tarun Peter from Class 12A will propose the vote of thanks.
It is my distinct pleasure to give the vote of thanks. To begin with, grateful thanks to God Almighty for blessing us with Mother Nature and for guiding us at every step to bring this event to fruition. I express deep appreciation and gratitude to the Chief Guest, Mr. Vishwanath Shrikantaya, for making the time to be with us today. Grateful thanks to Principal Reverend Father Sunil Fernandez, Primary School Administrator Reverend Father Vishal D'Souza, and Vice Principal Mr. Brian McCurtish for their constant motivation and encouragement. I thank all the teaching, non-teaching and support staff for their encouragement and guidance in all that we do. To conclude, let us take a pledge to contribute in whatever way we can to nurture and preserve nature and the environment. Thank you.